And when you say get serious, was it a good experience, bad experience? How did you get into it?
So I did a few investments here and there. I bought some tech companies before the bubble, some after. I would say, I had a few shares of Cisco. I did all right with that, but I wasn't playing any real size, and it was just a small investments here and there in an IRA or whatever I did.
Right.
But I got mixed up with someone that was learning to trade technically. I want to say it's 9 years. It was after the bubble, but before the bull market started. So I want to say 2002, 2000,
yeah, the 2003, yeah.
Yeah, it was somewhere in that time frame, 2002 maybe, so 7-8 years ago.
Right.
And I was trying to get back into it. He said, hey, look, check. Hold on, I got a screensaver.
Sure.
You see me? All right, so I was trying to get into it, and he showed me a book. I think it was like a Tony Turner book on swing trading.
Okay.
And when I read it, I was fascinated that this was, that people traded this way. I had never, been introduced into that.
Right.
And at that point, I read that, and I said, oh, man, this is great. I ran out, opened up an account. I started reading every book I can get on technical analysis, and I was just hooked right from the beginning.
So, what were some of the early books that you still go back to and enjoy? I'm always curious. What do you think is?
So, Candlestick Charting by Steve Nyson. Some of the candlestick books.
Yeah.
I was a big candlestick fan once I read those. The Tony Turner stuff, I read it like once or twice. They're pretty basic. Alexander Elder had a couple books that I read that were good.
Yeah.
Once I started progressing, let's see, Oliver Velez, the guy from Pristine.
Yeah.
He had a good book, The Tools and Tactics of Master Trader. I thought it was a pretty good book.
I agree.
And then I started going into, like Van Tharp has awesome. John Murphy, Intermarket Analysis by John Murphy, one of the best books I think I read. Because it really gave a good perspective on how the rotations, work and all that. So.
How about Jeff Cooper or Linda Raschke? You ever read any of their stuff?
Yeah.
Good stuff. So you got into the books, and so you read all this stuff, and you're like, okay, I got a little holy grail here in my hands. I'm going to go out and now apply it. So tell us about those early experiences, when you went to the markets now, having this little knowledge in your head.
I mean, I'm sure you know the answer. So
no, but I want to hear. I always love hearing the story. Everybody's got to go through it.
Everybody's looking for the holy grail, and I'm like, wow, this system looks like this will work, and hey, this setup looks like this looks great.
Right.
Alexander Elder had that BOP indicator, and I was like, wow, that's a holy grail right there.
Right.
And it takes a while to muddle through it and figure out that. Basic, and I kind of say that trading is like a diet. A lot of diets work.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you do. You want to starve yourself. You want to eat protein. You want to cut out sugar. They all work if you have the discipline to stick to it.
Right.
Same thing with trading. There's a million systems out there that will work if you can adapt it to how you trade and to your makeup, psychological makeup, and stick with it. So it took me a while to kind of get through that, and it took a while to learn that the key to all of these is simply cutting your losses. I mean, that really is the holy grail.
Yeah,
other than
it is, and it's also, as you said, I mean, I think the discipline with both entries, exits, and where to utilize stops and stop losses, and not let a trade become an investment. I think those things we all know, but I think. Again, especially males, you and I, and hence, my name, Miss Trade, I want to be able to get rid of that ego that drives us as males and always want to be doing something. Really, the biggest truism I've found about trading is not trading. If you can discipline yourself to really be patient for those entries and exits, then you become a much better trader. And I think very few people can come into this with, at least again on the male side, can come in with that mindset. It's very difficult, I think, for people to understand that you're really trading is so much waiting around and waiting for the right opportunity.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of it, and it takes a long time. All the books, if you really go through the books, you can grasp a lot in the beginning, but you don't really grasp a lot until you've really experienced the markets for a while. If you go back and read some of the books that you've read back in your early days and you go back to it now, you're going to get a totally different take from them.
Yeah.
And a lot of what you're saying, it really does take time for you to kind of experience the drawdowns, experience when you're over trading. It takes a lot for all that to really sink in and kind of let you mature as a trader.